Welcome to This Week in the World of Wrestling.
Welcome to TWitWoW, the best wrestling podcast made for wrestling fans, by wrestling fans, on the web today. I'm John, that's my cohort and commentary Ashton, and this is our Friday night Smackdown review. And me personally, I thoroughly enjoyed this Smackdown. I thought we got some great matches. We got some more build-up to Battleground, more matches formally announced. Overall, I thought this was a very productive show. But in pre-conversation with my partner here, you seem to disagree, bud.
Well, I don't necessarily disagree in that I thought it was a bad show. I just disagree because I don't think it was anything exceptional. Honestly, it felt skippable. It felt like we didn't even need to watch this Smackdown. And really all Smackdowns are kind of starting to feel this way because Smackdown to me has become a practice session for Raw. It's let's see how these guys do together, and if it works, then we'll throw it on Raw. Or a recap of Raw. It's all either like a recap or it literally revolves around Raw. If it's on SmackDown, it either probably has already been or will eventually be on Raw.
I think you and I, and I'm sure several other wrestling fans, knew that was coming when they did the Raw Super Show. And I just think everything, with the exception of NXT, which I think has done a marvelous job being its own universe simply because of what is behind NXT and the purpose of NXT. But yeah, SmackDown really has just seemed to become an extension of Raw. And while this episode tonight was, in my opinion, a thoroughly enjoyable episode, I can certainly see where you're coming from. I do miss the days where SmackDown had its own identity. I think that makes for a more compelling product. But now it's all about feeding the one main show. So...
yeah, exactly. That's kind of the point that I'm trying to make is SmackDown wasn't bad, but it just felt like par for the course.
Exactly. I see what you're saying.
So, all right, let's get into our first segment, Heat of the Night.
I've got 0 heats of the night tonight. Nothing really irked me about the SmackDown. What about you?
Yeah, I mean, par for the course is kind of the only real nitpick I have about this, and that's more a problem with the formatting and like the direction of the show rather than the actual content. As far as the content goes, there were a few moments that had me smiling, a few moments that I was just like, why would they do that? But other than that, it was good stuff. So I really can't complain too much other than just the fact that SmackDown needs a makeover at the end of the day.
Right. So I guess with that said, let us get right into our Friday night SmackDown review. And Ashton, how do we open this one up?
With Rusev and Lana, oddly enough, they come out and rather than an anti-American promo, they start cutting an anti-Canadian promo. Lana starts talking about how Rusev is going to crush Roman Reigns, and then, I mean, Reigns isn't going to just stand for them talking trash, so his music hits and he comes out. He says, Rusev, you think you can crush me? You should think again. He basically cuts a very generic babyface, I'm badass, and I'm going to kill you whether you think I am or not promo.
And this is where Reigns really seems to thrive, though, at the moment. I hope, because here's the thing. I love his short and succinct promos, and I think he should keep the style. As far as the vocabulary, though, that can always use some expanding. So let's hope that he becomes more diverse in terms of the content rather than the style in the future. Because he does. He says, look, I've assessed and I assess and attack. I've already assessed, so we get a referee out here, and I plan on attacking. Now, I will say, it's funny you mentioned Rusev, because if I were to have one nitpick, and I understand why, because I've read the reports and this and that, is that this week, being in Canada, the Jack Swagger-Rusev feud, which has a formal match at Battleground, took a hit. It didn't get any build.
Yeah, because Jack Swagger isn't legally allowed into Canada in the first place.
Exactly. So it really makes it difficult. It's a shame that even Zeb couldn't have pre-recorded something, maybe with Swagger. They could have sent it to him.
He did on Monday.
Well, he did on Monday, but wasn't on a screen thing formally laying down the challenge.
Yep.
I would have had something else kind of updating it, saying, now that you accepted it, insert confident face promo here. Yeah. So it's a shame that it's taken a hit, but I fully expect it to get back on track. For next week. As far as this was harmless, but I agree with you. Nothing new from Reigns here. Nothing new from Lana here either. It's not like they broke any kind of new ground. But they stayed with what was familiar, and what was familiar was nice. So.
Yep. All right. So that being said, up next we had Cameron versus AJ.
I think the most shocking part of this match for me was that Cameron actually did a cattle mutilation, or at least what looked like a cattle mutilation. I'm like, what is this? One match she does a code breaker, now she's doing a cattle mutilation against AJ. Is she really trying to be a wrestler? Kind of boggles my mind.
I don't think she's trying to be a wrestler. I think she's just trying to look like she's trying to be a wrestler.
Ouch. But I can't really argue with that. Yeah, nothing really to say about this match. I think they're trying to get over, Cameron is very self-absorbed, as is her heel persona.
Is it just me, or are they trying to make Cameron the female main roster version of Tyler Breeze?
That could be a possibility. In which case, I'm really tired of people, borrowing things from Tyler Breeze and just giving it just enough of a fresh coat of paint that they can call it original. I.e. Miz with the Hollywood face, now with Cameron applying the makeup and being so self-absorbed. You're not as gorgeous as Breeze. Stop trying. You can aspire to be. But you'll never get there. Ever.
Ever.
Thank you for the emphasis. See, emphasizing is always good. But yeah, it's just she's self-absorbed. And really the funny thing is to me, Ashton, and maybe it's just because of our personal dislike for Cameron, such as you and I share a personal dislike for Natalya, but it almost makes me want to laugh and ask, well, what was her face persona supposed to be besides a dancer? Because to me, she was always self-absorbed. If anybody watched Total Divas, she's ridiculous. So this seems truer to her nature if I'm a viewer. Nothing really much to note here. Naomi, well, she does try to back out. That's what introduces Naomi, because she realizes AJ's just too much for her. Naomi throws her back into the ring with this smile on her face, because she knows what she's doing. AJ tries to go for a schoolboy. Cameron rolls through, but she gets met with a shining wizard to the face for the 3 count by AJ. And I have to say, she had her post-match celebration. I do kind of wish that Paige would have made an appearance, but I am still very intrigued what they're going to do on the next Raw, now that their match at Battleground is set in stone, because we found out that AJ will be defending her Divas Championship against Paige.
Yep. I'm telling you, man, it's just a matter of time before AJ, and now it's weird because I was saying Paige that whole time, and now it's AJ defends that title against Naomi, and she ends up winning it.
I certainly can agree with you. Naomi, I think, once she gets over this thing with Cameron, which don't they have their match at Battleground as well?
I don't know if they've officially if it's been officially announced, but I would imagine they probably will, yeah.
Right. And as far as AJ and Paige goes, it's funny because yesterday I briefly revisited the Christian Randy Orton rivalry. How much do you want to bet that Paige is going to stay face throughout the matchup, and either in the aftermath immediately or on the next Raw, that's when Paige will have her heel turn? Because I don't think she'll do it beforehand, if you ask me. I think she's going to try.
No, she's not going to turn heel unless she absolutely needs to, and she won't need to unless she can't get the title back.
Right. So do you think it would? My question pretty much being, do you think it would be like a Christian and Orton? Because Christian, I guess, thought that after he lost it over the limit, he would have to turn heel to stay in the title picture, and ultimately he did get his second reign. So I could see Paige doing something similar. But only time will tell.
We shall see, my friend. We shall see. Anything else to say about this match?
Absolutely not. We can move on.
I felt the greatest satisfaction when AJ hit that Shining Wizard on camera, and I just wish it would have been a little stiffer.
I know. We can only dream.
All right, so up next we had Fandango against Adam Rose, kind of.
Yeah, this wasn't even really a match. This is just furthering the bigger storyline here of Summer Rae and her tension with Fandango, being with Layla. She comes out with the Exotic Express. It looks like they're about to have a match, but Summer Rae immediately goes after Layla. Fandango leaves to try and break the two ladies up. They get in between them, really ferocious. The referee's counting all the while, and Fandango gets accidentally kicked in the face again, shades of Money in the Bank, and I guess he's so out of it he can't make the 10 count, so Adam Rose wins by count out, and Fandango gets back in the ring. He's so frustrated at this point. Adam Rose offers him a lollipop, to not be such a lemon. Fandango smacks it out of his hand. Adam Rose responds by hitting the party foul. Pretty much end of segment.
Pretty much.
Anything else you want to say about it?
No. I mean, here's the thing, dude. Adam Rose is in kind of a bad place right now, but he still makes me smile every time he comes out, so he's got to be doing something right.
Absolutely. No, you and I love Adam Rose, and I just wish everybody else would too, and I think you know who I'm referring to in particular. but he's talented.
Oh, stop talking about him. It's getting overdone.
Oh, that was such a great play on words. But, yeah, he's talented, Ashton. You and I have thought that since day one with...
He being Adam Rose, not Kevin Dunn, just to
exactly. Yeah, Adam Rose. Absolutely, yeah. No, Kevin Dunn. I have very different things to say about him. But, with the Prince, Leo Kruger gimmick, and then the Hunter, just... And then Adam Rose, which immediately I was a little bit skeptical. I'm like, man, I'm going to miss Leo Kruger. But you know what? I dig it. I'm a Rosebud, and I'm proud of it. So good job on Adam Rose.
Well, at least you're not a lemon.
Yeah. Nobody wants to be a lemon.
I don't know. Vicky seemed pretty good at it.
Yeah, she did. No, let go of me, let go of me. Oh, her being body surfed was hilarious.
Thank you, Vicky.
Indeed, thank you, Vicky.
I would have felt so awkward because I was getting ready to say rest in peace, Vicky Guerrero, but she's still alive. She's just not employed by WWE anymore.
Exactly. So I guess nothing else to say about this segment?
Up next was Titus O'Neil and Heath Slater versus the Usos. And this right here, this was the point that I was starting to be like, oh my god, this SmackDown is completely worthless. Because we just had Cameron AJ, a 2-minute match that didn't even involve any actual physical altercation between Adam Rose and Fandango. And then this.
Yeah, as JBL affectionately referred to them as, Slater and the Gator, Michael. Oh, God. I'll be honest with you, Ashton. The only thing I remember about this match is like Titus O'Neil, I think, scored one impactful clothesline, and of course, because he's a powerhouse, and grr, I'm strong. But it didn't take long for the Usos to regain control. They got Titus O'Neil outside of the ring. Heath Slater tried to go off the top rope, but he got met with a super kick in the face because Usos. They tag out, score the splash, get the 3 count. In my opinion, the what they did in the post-match was more engaging than the actual match. So,
I would probably agree with that, yeah. But on that same note, I was also extremely annoyed. I mean, you say engaging, yeah, sure, I'll give you engaging, but this wasn't good. It was engaging because you couldn't look away because it was like a train wreck. It was like, what?
I'll be honest, I thought the beginning started out really rough and really painful because it seemed like they didn't even know what to say. And if I didn't know any better, I'd say the whole doing the play-by-play thing because to really set the scene for everybody, Byron Saxon, comes in the ring and he says, great match, you guys, but what do you think about facing the Wyatt family 2 out of 3 falls at Battleground? And Uso to the right, as we've referred to them now, says, we've been loving our feud with Harper and Rowan, the Wyatt family, but 2 out of 3 falls, me and my brother have never been in that, but they do it in a really awkward way, not really sounding confident, this and that. And then the part that I said felt like totally improvised. They go through the play-by-play what the 2 out of 3 falls match will be like, and they're like, oh, well, Rowan goes for a left, Uso ducks right, Harper goes for the right, Uso ducks left, super kick, goes to the top, gets a splash, 1, 2, 3, and still your tag team champions, Uso. Oh, and they don't even do the second fall. It's
and not only did they not do the second fall, but they just had to work Uso crazy in there. And
I hate that phrase with a passion. So much. And I know it's never going to happen, but I'll say it again. I thought what we came up with on TWitWoW, really specifically you, after you heard them say stand up for the first time, which they never really did after that, which I think is a shame. Because Uso crazy, I mean, come on, guys. That's just so corny.
Stupid.
And that's coming from me. You know how
so
bad
stupid.
Yeah, but do you know how bad it is for a guy like me to say something's corny?
I mean, John has that kind of sense of humor where he's got he'll laugh at the corny stuff, kind of like if you would think of like a stereotypical John Cena joke. If John didn't hate John Cena with the passion that he does, he would giggle at John Cena jokes and like dad jokes, like oh, hey, Dad, I'm hungry. Oh, hi, hungry, I'm Dad. That's John's kind of sense of humor.
Yeah, I mean, pretty much. I'd like to think at other times I have a more refined palate, but Ashton's pretty much right there. So when I say that something like this is corny, I mean, that's bad. You should go in the corner and really be ashamed of yourself. Seriously.
Go in the corner and think about what you've done.
Yeah. Fools.
Uso, ashamed of yourselves.
Yeah, you tell them. Oh, man. Anything else you want to say about this?
No, because up next we had Chris Jericho versus Randy Orton, and this match was baller.
This match was amazing. Personally, my match of the night. these guys killed it. And what I loved about this match, and what I'm loving so far about this Chris Jericho return, is that I think Chris has never really looked better in terms of how strong he's allowed to look in matches. It actually makes me think that Bray Wyatt potentially beating him at Battleground will be a worthwhile and valuable victory. So,
yeah, absolutely.
I mean, they had a great back and forth here. There was a point where Orton said, "No, you're gonna get me like that, Chris," and he was taking his time, and he got back on the apron, and I think he had a little exchange with a fan, or he just looked at a fan, and Jericho, of course, being the wily veteran he is, did his springboard drop kick to Orton, so he'd get back on the outside. That was a great moment. The fluidity of this matchup and how quickly these two can have a particular back and forth or exchange holds really did, and it's funny because I mentioned revisiting the Christian Orton rivalry like a day or two ago, and that's the exact vibe I got from these two working together, because everything was so fast-paced and they were going hold for hold, counter for counter. Another great moment, Orton tried going for his rope hung DDT, but Jericho gets the walls of Jericho. Oh, that was another great moment. Yeah, these two really put on a clinic.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun, and it's one of those things where you're expecting this match to have some kind of a dusty finish where, you know, somebody cheats or somebody gets disqualified or a count out or something that makes these guys stay equal after the match, because you would think they want to keep Jericho strong for his match with Wyatt. But Orton goes for an RKO, Jericho counters, then the Wyatt's music cuts, that jump scare, and then Orton uses the distraction for an RKO to get the win. So we get a clean finish. You could call it dusty because of the distraction, but at the end of the day, Jericho got pinned clean.
He did, and I think the only saving grace about it where I say that Jericho, even though he does lose some of his strength, I won't argue that point with you, but he did hit a lion salt successfully beforehand, and it was heavily implied had he gone for the cover or been able to, the match would have been over. Yep. So I think WWE...
It's kind of like that, but if he just coulda.
Exactly.
That effect, yeah, I guess.
Yeah, and to me, and I hope it's a trend that keeps up, because I love the fact that Jericho will put everybody over, and honestly, because of his legacy, I think the victory will always mean something, right. But I think it's going to mean a lot more if you protect him at this time as best as you can.
Yep.
Because I'm really excited for Wyatt to potentially pick up this victory. I say potentially because you never know in WWE, but I would bet the house on it. So.
Yep, absolutely. Orton wins with the RKO, relatively clean, and we move on to our next match. Summer Rae versus Layla with Fandango as the special guest referee.
Yeah, continuing their business from earlier in the night, these two try and go at it. Well, the match starts with Fandango. Looks like he's going to just try and officiate and stay out of everybody's way, but Summer Rae steals a kiss from him and, you know, tells Layla, "That's how it's done!" And Layla's just kind of looking at them both, and she's like, "Are you kidding me? Are you kidding me?" And then she goes to... after Summer Rae to kind of, I guess, rip her hair out, but Fandango intervenes, keeps her at bay. Then Summer tries the same thing. Fandango again intervenes, stops it from happening. And then Fandango makes it all about him as he begins dancing in the middle of the ring. And then this part I loved because Summer and Layla are just looking at him like, "Are you serious right now?
You got to make this about you?"
Exactly. And then, in a moment that even caught me a little bit off guard, they start pounding on Fandango, the both of them. They team up, put the boots to him. He's left, sitting on the stage just like looking in shock, like what just happened. And then things go even one step further, Ashton, with our two femme fatales here.
Yeah, they kind of get buddy-buddy.
They do. It initially appears like it's going to be a dance-off between these two. And then finally, I guess Summer... Layla earned her respect, so she offers her hand to Layla, and then those two actually start dancing together. Interesting. So, I guess, are they girlfriends now? Is that going to be the new thing?
They're reforming the BFFs on the main roster, Moggle!
Oh, but where's Sasha? I like Layla, though. That's not even really anything against her. It's just if they are going to do something similar to that with Summer, but only give her another dancer... It's just like, man, I was really hoping Sasha would get that spot, but she's left out in the cold. But, hey, with what she's doing in NXT, maybe that's not so bad. So, good stuff.
Yeah, she's working with Summer in NXT. Plus, she's working with the future of the Divas Division, Charlotte, in NXT.
Can't really ask for much of a better place than that.
Pretty much. I would love to see Sasha Banks get called up to the main roster, but what would they do with her at this point, really?
Yeah, because you know what? Paige and AJ have really kind of monopolized the championship because it's all about their rivalry.
Dude, there are so many Divas storylines going on right now, though. You have Paige and AJ, you have Summer Rae and Layla, you have Naomi and Cameron, plus you have crazy Alicia Fox walking around just being crazy and herself and that kind of stuff. You know, we actually have a good amount of stuff going on in the Divas division right now. It's crazy.
When did you ever think you'd say the sentence, "We have so many Divas storylines"? It's so weird.
A decade ago.
That is true. You do make a legitimate point there, but it's great to be able to say it again. So, awesome stuff.
Absolutely. So up next we had Goldust versus Curtis Axel.
Goldust is amazing.
He is. He's so much fun. I love Goldust.
He is. Like, he starts this match running the ropes, like, disorienting Curtis Axel, and I just have to remind myself that this guy is 44 or maybe even 45 at this point years old.
I'll look it up. Keep talking.
It's absolutely insane. Meanwhile, Stardust is having shenanigans. He gets up on the barricade at first.
Yeah. And Goldust is 45.
Wow. Just wow.
He just turned 45 in April. How about that?
And he, leads the crowd, to pop and just get into it. And Curtis Axel's like, "Hey, what are you doing? I'm better than perfect." Laugh not included. So Goldust tries to capitalize. Curtis Axel, though, not able to get caught that easily. The match goes on a little bit more. Curtis Axel does nail his dropkick, at which Ryback goes, better than perfect. But again, he doesn't get the win that way either. Then Stardust, again with shenanigans, gets on the announce table and kind of poses. Curtis Axel again saying, "What are you doing? Get back over there!" And just all that, just completely at a loss for words with Stardust's antics. They have a little bit more of a back and forth, and then Goldust just out of nowhere hits the final cut. Gets the victory, but Stardust wasn't done there, was he, Ashton?
No. Stardust wasn't done because Ryback wasn't done. As soon as Goldust got the victory, Ryback rushed the ring and was going to do a shell shock onto Goldust, and then Stardust came into the ring and blew Gold Star glitter all over Ryback's face and caused him to drop Goldust.
Yeah, it is very apparent to me that Ryback didn't need enough Starburst to prepare for that from Stardust.
I know. He should have played more Star Fox N64.
Exactly. Or maybe listened to a little bit more of Ringo Starr from the Beatles. But regardless, he was inadequately prepared, got Stardust in the face, and the commentary was really playing up that Goldust is, in fact, the normal one of this faction. I continue to love these guys. I am not tired of the act yet. I just love seeing Cody Rhodes play a character. He's good at two things. He's exceptional in ring, as you and I have commented about, so many times over. But even more than that, which I felt like we weren't getting when he was just being Cody Rhodes and building up the family name, was he's so great at playing a character. And when you can bring those two things together and marry them, I think the sky is the limit. And I think he proved that when he was undashing Cody Rhodes. And in the tag team division, at least, I think he's proving that again as Stardust. So, excellent stuff.
Yeah, I don't know about you, but me personally, as much as I loved Star Fox 64, my favorite character was always Falco Lombardi.
How dare you?
You're not a fan of Falco?
He was all right. That was actually one of my favorite games as a kid, if not my all-time favorite game. But I always felt like Falco was gunning for my spot. It's like, I'm the captain of this fleet. You do as you're told. You just stay in the back. But then again, he was so much better than the Toad, who needed help every 5 seconds. Like, what the heck? It's called independence. Try exerting some.
Yeah.
Jerk.
No one ever talks about the hair either.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. You get it.
All right, up next, we had a handicap match, and for the second show in a row, Bo Dallas is the semi-main event, going 2-on-1 against Diego and El Torito.
Now let me ask you something, Ashton.
Sure.
Did you feel like the heat that Bo Dallas seemed to receive was heavily canned tonight? Because that's the impression I got.
I don't know if it was or not, but I do know that they are booking him as a heel.
And it's terrific. You and I were talking about it earlier, and you were so happy about it, as am I. I just hope it catches on. And I say this for two reasons. One, it was very difficult to tell if it was genuine heat, because admittedly, this crowd had some pretty good organic pops tonight, I thought. Yeah. Got genuinely into quite a few things on this show. But two, in the post-match, I'm not even going to talk about what was in the match yet. We'll kind of rewind in a second. But in the post-match, everybody's kind of doing their thumbs middle, at least notably in the front row, I noticed. So I don't know if WWE can make these people hate Bo, but I think they're definitely taking steps in the right direction. They're making a sincere effort.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, a couple weeks ago, I was afraid that the WWE is going to try and shift it over and make him a babyface because they put him against, I believe, it was Titus O'Neil, who was still a heel at the time. And I was thinking, oh crap, this is the first sign they're turning Bo face. And now they've discovered the formula because, actually, you know what? I don't want to say they've discovered the formula for everybody, but they've discovered the formula that proves to me that they're at least trying to make him a heel. Because not only does he get to go 2-on-1 with two of the more beloved mid to undercard baby faces on the roster, but after the match is over, and yes, he did win. He hit the Bo Dog on Diego for the win. And then after the match, he flips Torito into the ring and says, "Oh no, he's hurt." And he goes to check on him and then lifts him up, puts his arm around his neck, and hits a Bo Dog on him. And then does a victory lap. It was glorious.
I've never been so inspired in my life.
I know. It's so inspirational. So inspirational, Michael.
And for the record, because I know my friend James was asking me, so for everybody else who may have lost track, he is 13-0 at this point.
I thought it was higher than that.
No, it's only 13-0.
I feel like it's 15 at this point. We have to go back and look, because there's no way it's only 13 now. I feel like, wasn't it 12 at the pay-per-view?
Dude, I'm just telling you from a wrestling website that I looked at that tracks wins and losses, and I really had to do a lot of digging to find his more recent stuff. And from my count, unless I miscounted, which is very possible, he is 13-0, but we can definitely double check. For the sake of
we're going to have to check that out, because I feel like I remember us having a conversation during our live reactions to Money in the Bank, and it was that Bo was 12-0 if he won that night.
But did he even have a match at Money in the Bank?
No, he didn't, but he's had at least 2 or 3 matches since then.
Right. See, I felt like they, because when I went into this match, this handicap match, I thought when he won, he would be 14-0, or at the very least 15. So it surprised me that it was only 13. But either way, the guy still doesn't have a blemish on his record since getting repolished with this motivational gimmick and coming to the main roster. So.
Yeah. All right. So, as we said, that was the semi-main event. So up next was our main event of the evening, Roman Reigns versus Rusev.
I still feel like this match is happening way too soon. You knew because of that fact it wasn't going to have a definitive finish. However, that said, I did like how these two worked together. You had Rusev showing off his athleticism early on, too, because he was doing measured kicks to the thighs of Roman Reigns and really trying to cut him down. As commentary said, really fleshing out that Muay Thai background. He did the spinning heel kick, which, when a man of his size does a move like that, I'm always going to be impressed. So it was kind of like when Harper did a suicide dive for the first time.
By the way, John, I just looked, and he's 14-0.
Oh, wow, okay. Well, then, yeah. All right. 14-0.
Yeah, but, although technically, if you count Battle Royals, he's 14-1 because he didn't win the Battle Royal to get into the Money in the Bank championship match at Money in the Bank, which he was in.
Right. He had a great performance in that match, though. Made it to the final 3, which makes me believe, yeah.
But he didn't win, so he's not undefeated anymore.
Well, they probably qualify and say undefeated in singles competition.
I guess. So. But still, 14-0. And I mean, if you count a handicap match as singles competition, then I don't know where you draw the line.
That's true. It's a weird dynamic. But anyway, Rusev looked very impressive here. Of course, it wasn't going to be long before Reigns came back, because Rusev, after a while, would play the ground game. Seemed like he was doing like a claw-like maneuver to Reigns' shoulders. Soon he powered out, began nailing some blows to the face of Rusev. Then I believe did he nail a Samoan drop in this? Because I want to say that he did. And then...
he did. Yeah, he did.
He got his single
It was weird looking, though, because, it honestly just looked like an amateur-style takedown with a little bit more impact, because he didn't really get him up into a fireman's carry before dropping back. He just kind of lifted him up with one arm and then dropped back.
Right. And then after that, he does a single leg, drop kick, where he just lands on the apron. That's probably one of my favorite moves in his arsenal. And then he nails the Superman punch. He nails all these moves in succession, so you knew the tide had clearly changed. looks like he's going for a spear. Randy Orton comes out and he hotshots him, straddles his throat against the ropes. That causes the DQ. Rusev tries to nail a clothesline. Reigns ducks him, nails a Superman punch to Orton while Orton was on the apron. Turns around again, hits a super kick, eats a super kick from Rusev. He wants to crush him, but Lana says, Rusev! And then she pauses, and then she pretty much says, we go. And, they leave, pretty much offering Roman Reigns to Randy Orton.
And this tells me that Lana has a deal struck with the Authority.
And I wonder what kind of deal that is. See, I'll say right now.
She's their enforcer. Well, not she, but Rusev is their enforcer through her.
Especially with Barrett out of action, I guess Rusev would be the new hitman, so to speak.
Yep.
It'll be very interesting to see how Battleground shakes out and how the card is structured from match to match, because if the Rusev Swagger match happens before the IC title Battle Royal, which I could very easily imagine, maybe Rusev will get a spot in that Battle Royal as a favor for taking care of Roman Reigns on this SmackDown. So, I don't know, but that's one theory I have going on.
Mm-hmm.
Orton comes in, nails the RKO, and to be perfectly honest, I'm surprised he got this RKO off of Reigns. I was fully expecting him to push Orton off and nail a spear with how strong he's been booked lately, but I'm glad Orton successfully perpetrated the assault. He poses to end the show. Orton looking dominant heading into Battleground.
Absolutely. Interesting stuff. Orton's looking dominant. Rusev is looking dominant. Reigns is looking dominant, but he had a little bit of a hiccup at the end of this show. So that's SmackDown, everybody. It was a very uneventful show for the most part.
And with that said, let's get right into our next segment, high spots and low shots. And my low shot is Fandango.
Yeah? Great pick.
Yeah, he goes into the night with a girlfriend in Layla, who is quite a beautiful woman, to say the least.
Yeah, she's a dime. Let's just come right out and say she's a dime.
Yeah, she's exceptional. But he ends the night completely girlfriendless, a bachelor once again, as
if anything, that makes him a high spot, am I right?
Potentially, depending on how he rebounds, but his two exes are now buddy-buddy, and we may have a new dancing girlfriend faction on the horizon. So yeah, not good for Fandango.
Yeah, it's almost like Scott Pilgrim versus the World. Instead of the 7 evil exes, it's the 2 dancing exes.
Intense stuff, man. Intense stuff.
All right, my low shot is Rybaxel, because one of them lost and the other one got glittered.
Yeah, it's never a good night when you get glittered.
Never.
So, ever. Yeah, never. So, my high spot, Randy Orton. Wins his match against Chris Jericho, albeit by, Wyatt family. Not necessarily interference, but I'll call it mind games. But he does get the pinfall victory. And not to mention, he also sent a message to probably the biggest threat in the Fatal 4-Way, whose name isn't John Cena, Roman Reigns, by laying him out with an RKO. This SmackDown really built up Orton's momentum and dominance, I think, as a heel heading into this Fatal 4-Way.
Yep, absolutely. Completely agree. My high spot, though, is Rusev, because not only did we, I should say, find out that apparently Lana has some kind of a deal struck up with the Authority, which is going to get Rusev in better spots for sure, but he not only held his own, but I would go as far as to say dominated a good chunk of his match against Roman Reigns, who is currently being built like Superman 2.0. And the only reason I say 2.0 is because Cena's already got the original on lockdown.
Right. He certainly imposed his will on Roman Reigns. I felt the exact same way. I was actually pleasantly surprised.
How long was Reigns out after Rusev hit that flying super kick?
He seemed like he was out for an eternity. If Rusev really wanted to, and if Lana really wanted to, there is no doubt in my mind that they could have locked in the accolade on him, and he probably would have passed out, because he looked out after that super kick. So I was pleasantly surprised that they let Rusev get away with that much on Roman Reigns, seeing as how Roman Reigns is the pet project right now, is being groomed to be the next top guy. So yeah, Rusev had a very dominant night. I completely agree with you.
Yep, absolutely. All right, dude, are you ready?
Yep, 30-second hot seat.
All right, well, normally I would be like, hey, we have this many shows coming up in the next week. Which one are you looking forward to most? But from what I understand, the only shows coming up are Battleground and Battleground. So yeah, that's it. So what I'm going to do is I am going to change it up a little bit, and I'm going to, rather than ask you a question about the future, I'm going to ask you a question about the past. And this is literally completely irrelevant to SmackDown tonight, and even the WWE product that we're currently witnessing. What is your favorite WWE theme song and entrance of all time? You have 30 seconds, and your time starts now.
I'd say my favorite WWE theme, of all time would be Jack Swagger's Patriot. I listen to it when I work. It totally gets me pumped. As far as entrance, oh god, that's tough. I don't know. That's a tough one.
You still have another 11 seconds.
I'll say Undertaker's entrance because when I was a kid, it always used to send chills down my spine. So, Taker.
Which one?
Oh god, when he returned as the Dead Man for WrestleMania 20.
Okay, great. You got it in just under the 30-second mark. Awesome. See, that's called throwing a curveball, my friend, and you batted it out of the building.
Oh, correct taunt.
Congratulations.
Thank you. So, with that said, you have no other remarks about this SmackDown?
No, I don't have any other remarks about the SmackDown. It was good stuff.
Well, guys, this review was faster than a speeding bullet, so with that said, this has been Smackdown. This has been TWitWoW, the best wrestling podcast made for wrestling fans, by wrestling fans, on the web today. I'm John. That's my cohort and commentary, Ashton. Guys, comment and subscribe on YouTube. Discuss everything we discussed here on Pweetoff, and we will see you again for our Monday Night Raw review, the Go Home Raw before Battleground, which will see John Cena teaming with Dean Ambrose and Roman Reigns to take on Randy Orton, Seth Rollins, and Kane.